gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, my name is Chrissy Tina, and this is the very first episode of the Hi Babies podcast. Welcome, everyone. My name is Chrissy Tina once again, Chrissy Tina across all social media platforms, and I am a wrestling content creator. I've been in love with wrestling since I was young, and now I get to try and make fun of it on the internet with some of my favorite people. These being the favorite people, some of the best minds in the wrestling industry I have with me tonight, and I'm so happy for that. We're going to start off with introductions, and we are starting with my best friend, Richie Mars, whether or not he likes to admit it or not. Richie, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Richie Mars, at Retold Richie Mars on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Also have a podcast, Wrestling Retold and Relive with Richie Mars, of course, Richie Mars, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. I also am a part of Chronoso bi-monthly, where I'm a part of a retro watch-along kind of podcast that's going through the years of WWF. We're just now completed with SummerSlam 1990. Also, I'm a part of their pay-per-view previews, where I'll preview one match that's a part of the WWE schedule. And I also am a part of Bound for Impact from World Championship Wreckage with my co-host Dad Hat, where we go through different aspects of TNA wrestling and we just discuss what's going on at the time. And yeah, I believe that's it. So I'm going to stop rambling and let everybody else talk.
Also love that I have it on recording that he did not refute that he's my best friend. So now that's just going to be out on the internet forever. Hi, the Well Gray.
Hi, Chrissy. First and foremost, hello. How are you?
I'm good, love. I'm good. Now, when I say I invited people here for wrestling, honestly, all of you were, but some people were here for more eye candy than most. And we already know that how I feel about you on the internet. So why don't you go ahead and tell the people what you do and who you are?
I am the host and lead writer of BotchBots and Share Shots. If you check all your major social media platforms and search for The Will Gray, you'll find me there. If you check the link tree in all those bios, you will find all the shenanigans that I do elsewhere for BotchBots and Share Shots, Rivet City Radio, World Championship Wreckage, and my writing profiles for Last Word on Sports, Pro Wrestling Stories, and The Sportster.
And when I say we have superstars here tonight, I mean we have people that have been in the top 100 for podcasts on Apple. Will, I'm still forever proud of you for that. And I know that you were doing even more amazing things. So we are going to keep it rolling and keep it moving with someone else who is incredibly talented. The last and certainly not the least, Husky Rhodes. My dear, sweet Husky Rhodes, why don't you go ahead and tell the people who you are and what you do?
Hello. Thank you very much for having me.
Always, baby. Now, why don't you go ahead and tell the people who you are and what you do?
Yes, I am the man, the myth, the icon, the prettiest fat man in the South, the American Dream, Husky Rhodes. I am one of the three hosts of Queen's Court on World Championship Wreckage with the Tribal Queen Brie and the Wrestling Encyclopedia Mike Duplessis. We watch a bunch of old shows that Brie hasn't seen before. So, because she's only been watching since 2015. So, we're going to be doing some interesting stuff. I'm going to make her watch some like old ECW and make her just cringe.
That's going to be good.
It's
I'm excited.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. We did show her like 2000, like best of 2000 and 2001 Combat Zone Wrestling. And she had never seen any of that shit. And that was
poor girl.
We traumatized her and I feel terrible for it.
I mean, I feel like that's what the best friends do for you. They traumatize you consistently. God only knows what I've done to Richie Mars over the years that I've known him.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you got to.
I write it down in my diary, so I haven't been with it.
I have one of those.
I've got a running log, you know.
It's just Captain's log at this point.
Yeah. And on the socials, if you want to find me, it's Husky Roads 912 on TikTok. It's the Husky Roads on Instagram. At Dormir Beats on Instagram, I make electronic music. At Widow_River is my band. Come check that out. We'll be recording here hopefully soon. And yeah, that's basically all I've got.
And honestly, I really can't thank you guys enough for being the very first people on the podcast. I wouldn't pick anybody else. And also, no one else would admit that they like me in public. So it just kind of all really worked out at the end. And today we're going to be covering last week in wrestling and going into Money in the Bank next week, where I'm going to drag Richie Mars to see me in person at a watch along party in the city. And we're going to get Richie Mars lit. What Richie Mars lit looks like, who knows? We're going to document it and see what happens. Will it be 1 cranberry and vodka? Will it be 3 Modelo's? Who knows what'll get him there, but we're going to try.
I'm just going to drink
Very
Pepsi.
intrigued.
He is the Pepsi Phil of the podcast, honestly. So once again, y'all, this is our very first inaugural episode. So with any kind of bleeps or bloops or mistakes that may happen, go ahead and just ignore that, like I do most inconveniences in my life, and we'll be just fine. So like the ticker says below, we're going to get started with talking about the fallout from Double or Nothing that happened this past Sunday. Was the pay-per-view worth the $50? In my personal opinion, absolutely it was. Absolutely was. Anarchy in the Arena alone was worth the price of admission for me. I'm going to be completely honest, just to kick it off. I had more fun watching Anarchy in the Arena from my couch than I did all of night 2 at Mania, and I was there in person. So I'm not sure what that says, but just the energy of Anarchy in the Arena, the fact that they will forever make me sick of bodies. I can never hear bodies again and not just slightly cringe, because it played 10 times in a row? Who knows?
Yeah.
I'll hear it in my nightmares. Willow Nightingale getting her ear gauge hole like locked to a chain on the amazing. The Predator costume from Swerve, the Captain America cosplay from Kenny, the Founding Fathers gimmick from the Bucks. I'm sorry, I know some people aren't a fan of them, but that made me die laughing. Was it else? Mercedes Moné and Jamie Hayter having a very, very, very solid match. I know how people feel about Mercedes. They either go left or they go right, or they just don't care at all. But she's been slowly getting there for me when it comes to AEW. I will always prefer Sasha Banks to Mercedes Moné. I'm just biased, but I do feel like she's starting to become someone that would make sense to go up against Tony. Me being the Tony Storm girl. I'm not a Tony Storm girl. I'm the Tony Storm girl, just in case I got to remind some of y'all on the internet. But with how theatric Tony is, she needs someone that she's going to need to be able to bite off and chew on and really sink her teeth into. Would I rather her bite off and chew on me? Absolutely. But, beggars can't be choosers, at least not yet. But I feel like Mercedes is finally getting into that bag of being a little bit more outlandish, being a little bit more outrageous, a little bit more cartoonish, because that's what you need with Tony. You need that kind of personality so she can bounce off on it. And I think she's finally getting to that level where she can meet Tony there. All of this going into All In Texas, being the Tony Storm fan that I am I terrified that Mercedes is going to take the title off of her? Absolutely, because I feel like it is an absolute viable option. Now, my issue isn't Tony losing the title. Tony will be just fine. Tony can make, what's that saying, chicken salad out of chicken shit?
Yep.
And we've seen it get done before. No one thought that Stardust was going to be as popular as he was, and now people look back on him with fondness. There's a cult followings for Stardust now. Same thing with Goldust in his era as well. And Tony Storm literally disappeared and still managed to make the gimmick work with the Carmen Sandiego, where is she now, like news arc every single week. And I know Tony will be fine without the title. Will Mercedes be able to make the title as important as Tony did during her run if she does take it off of her? That's what I'm uncertain of.
Yeah.
So those are my personal takeaways from Double or Nothing. I want to know what y'all think. Richie, we're going to start with you.
I really do like the concept of Double or Nothing, just because it's like high risk, high reward. I do like the Owen being a part of it this year, and I really do like the winners of each of the Owen, because this is the first time the Owen really felt like, one, a major deal, and two, just like it could have gone either way with the winners of this match. And I really like those 2 tournament finals, and I really do like that, just because it just shows how deep the roster is for AEW, that you have so many different scenarios that do make sense. And one thing I really do love in the Anarchy in the Arena, just because Anarchy in the Arena, like Stadium Stampede, is going to be hokey. It's going to be cheesy. One of my favorite moments is like the Claudio swing into the speaker, and that's what cut out the music. And it's just that one. It's just like that one speaker that cut out bodies, which I really did enjoy. But yeah, with AEW, they went through what I like to call like, that new generation ruthless aggression era phase where it's like when you're in it, it just feels like the popularity isn't where it was previously. And now they're trying to find out, all right, how do we get forward with this? And I feel like they slowly but surely started momentum. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the Death Rider stories. I like them all as individuals, just as a faction. I think just like overall with heel factions, I'm just like fatigued by it. Just because I've seen it like so many times, not only in AEW, but WWE, TNA, all these different promotions. And it's just kind of like the same thing where it's just like you have to take out each member before we get to that final climax. And I feel like with Double or Nothing, it's that good like SummerSlam, like good like number 2 show. If you want to go like rank all the AEW shows, you go All In, Double or Nothing, Revolution, Full Gear, all those kind of like big 4 shows, and Forbidden Door if you want to put it in like that Money in the Bank slot, if you want to make that comparison. I really do like that they were like, all right, these are like the guys that and girls that we're going to focus on. With Tony and Mercedes, I think it's the biggest match you can do, and that makes sense for All In. I am like not disappointed, but it's like I was hoping we get like some Athena attention a little bit because they kind of teased her on AEW a little bit, but then like after that Mercedes match, she kind of like faded into the background, so I'm not sure what's up with that entirely, but hopefully we get some follow-up on that. And that's the one thing like I'm not really like critical on AEW, but I hope they expand more because their women's roster is deceptively deep. Like I think for both AEW and WWE, this is the deepest their women's roster has become, and you can take risks with these different wrestlers because of how talented each and every one of them are. And we're even seeing more chances being brought upon them because like Mercedes and Tony, they had the last segment on for Dynamite, and they had the highest drawing segment for Dynamite as well. So I think it's going to be really telling that you could honestly potentially see AEW putting on Tony Storm, Mercedes Moné potentially last at All In. Now, of course, you have Moxley and Hangman that's being built up, and with Swerve and Ospreay. I am curious just because these are legitimately the 3 biggest names that you have on the men's side when it comes to not only contenders, just faces of AEW in general. But usually when it's like trios like this with Will Ospreay trying to be the mediator, I can't help but shake that there's a possibility we see a heel Will Ospreay, because if you remember last year for Forbidden Door, Ospreay lost to Swerve. Then at Double or Nothing, lost to Hangman. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see a heel Ospreay like we saw in the main event of Double or Nothing. And this is just the first step of that entire story. But overall, I really enjoyed Double or Nothing. I really enjoy AEW and the product overall. And also Hurt Syndicate, like what they're doing. Interested to see how the story progresses from there as well.
I love my one Jabba Vanilla Maxwell Jacob Freeman in the group that is the Hurt Syndicate. I love that so much for him. Sometimes you just need friends. Sometimes you just need friends, good friends to make the difference. And my boy Maxwell has been doing real bad in the friend department as of late. So maybe, who knows, Shelton Benjamin and MVP and Bobby Lashley will be those good friends that he needs to help him, build from the ground up again.
I'd like to be friends with Shelton Benjamin.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
He just celebrated his goddaughter's, I believe, graduation, and his goddaughter is Charlie Haas's daughter.
Well, yeah.
Oh,
and I'm
yeah,
like,
right.
man, like real friends really stick with you no matter what. And I love that for him.
Well,
I love
the
that
world's
for him so
greatest
much.
tag team, Now he's the world's greatest godfather.
I love that for him so much. Will, my darling, what did you think of Double or Nothing in the takeaways?
I'm going to do my Mount Rushmore for Double or Nothing. So number 1 would definitely be Anarchy in the Arena. Husky and I spend a lot of time together watching wrestling. And when we watched Double or Nothing, we all agreed that watching it in tandem against Battleground, because I'm going to be that guy. Battleground had a lot of really great moments, but at that moment in that time, all 5 or 6 of us that were watching were glued in for Anarchy in the Arena for the entire time. And I think that set the mark for the whole night between both companies. Number 2 is Timeless Tony Storm. So I'm going to echo what you were saying, Chrissy. I think she is the high point in all things that is women's wrestling right now. She's kind of the benchmark, both in character work and how you cross that bridge with character work and in-ring work to make it all make sense. I'm going to tie this in with one of my biggest dislikes simultaneously, and that is anything that has been proven to be Mercedes Moné. This rips my heart out a little bit to say this, and here's why. Mercedes has shown us that she is a system quarterback. And I say the same thing about Charlotte Flair now, too, because when she has to go off script and do anything other than what's spoon-fed to her, it's hot garbage. We saw it with the Tiffany Stratton stuff when they went off script. Mercedes is the same way. When she was Sasha Banks and she had the system behind her and everybody riding and it all being scripted, she was flawless, one of the best in the business. And what I worry is she needs that push behind her, and AEW is not giving it to her. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
that's one of my big, I'm just not a Mercedes fan. I love Sasha Banks, don't like Mercedes Moné. My third takeaway from the night is the Will Ospreay Hangman Adam Page finale for the Owen, echoing on Richie. I think that tying that in at first, I had kind of mixed emotions with the Hart family getting involved there, but that's one of those things where it's just like, you're a fan, set your happy ass down. You know what I mean? Like, that's not our place to say what she and her family is or isn't okay with doing. And if they signed off for AEW to do it, then I'm a fucking fan of it. You know what I mean? Like, no matter how you feel about the family, she signed the bottom line to make it happen. And if the family signed off on it, then fuck it, I'm here for it. So I liked the finale going. TK does a fantastic fucking job. And this is something that I love about him. He will have these tournaments build through weekly television and culminate at a pay-per-view. And if you remember old WWE 97 King of the Ring, they would have the quarterfinals over 2 weeks on Raw or whatever, then do the semifinals and the finals, then these are old wrestling booking techniques from the High and Mighty Attitude Era, and I love how Tony Khan has been utilizing that over the last few years. So the Owen finale, them putting on what may have been the top 2 matches of the weekend, and that's across both brands, again, Battleground and AEW, and to close it out. I think for me, that last little tidbit would be the fans. And AEW has shown with the shift back to not the smaller arenas, but they're not trying to sell out 25 and 30,000 seats anymore. They're doing these smaller theater style arena shows. And I think it fucking rocks. And when even if it is only 5,000 or 6,000 AEW fans, you get 5,000 or 6,000 rabid AEW fans in one place. They're just as loud as the 30,000 person crowd. And I think AEW's production team, Jen Pepperman, Mike Manzini, and the new guy they just brought over, all of these ex-WWE guys are taking that equation and system and helping elevate AEW's front-facing like television look and TV look. And I think they're killing it. And I've been called an AEW shill as of late, but I like what I like.
It literally makes no sense for people to complain about loving one brand or another when it's never really been that. Like, I always use this as example, but you wouldn't get mad at somebody making your sandwich at Subway if they used to work at Panera. Like, oh, like you turned your back on the corporation. Like, they are chasing a bag. As Richie Mars says, always get the bag. That's what you need to do. This is a job.
One of my things
is the way that people used to feed their kids.
We're all fans. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you like peanut butter and jelly with grape jelly or strawberry jelly. At the end of the day, it's still a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And that's the way pro wrestling needs to be looked at. It doesn't matter what flavor of jelly you're fucked with, is the fact is we all love peanut butter and jelly.
That needs to be the next shirt, honestly. That needs to be the next shirt. And going to what you said about the arena, I honestly agree, because AEW, this is what, their fifth year being in production. And mutual of the channel Suplex Media has stated that AEW is never going to be on the pedestal that WWE is. And I'm sorry to tell people, but I 100% agree. WWE has decades ahead of, like, they're so far ahead in the starting line that AEW isn't going to catch up. All they can do is make the best product that they can make for themselves in this time with what they have available to them. And it would be amazing if AEW could do stadium shows every month the way that WWE does. But WWE is decades into the game at this point. AEW isn't. So it's totally like logical for AEW to do stadium shows for maybe All In, but for the regular pay-per-views, do the arena shows. You get better crowd reactions. I honestly miss the old Performance Center at Full Sail.
Full Sail.
Full Sail crowd for me was the sixth man, was the extra guy behind the camera. You needed the crowd at Full Sail. There were people that were made famous in Full Sail from being in the crowd. Izzy being one of them, Bailey's protege. Her getting those little bits of camera time helps her further love wrestling, and now she's wrestling, for God's sake. Like, that is how important the crowd is, as well as everything else.
It's a happy medium, where it's just like I do like the intimate setting and the intimate crowds where you have a couple thousand. I'd rather have a couple thousand passionate fans than 15,000, 20,000 that are just sitting on their hands and knees watching. But the thing is, it's like sometimes if you perform in front of the same crowd and the same arena, you're going to have people who are desensitized by the product. It just happens, where TNA, they had the Impact Zone. They were in there for such a long time that it's like, not only could, yes, you could point out the certain fans, but at the same time, they've already seen it all. So there's nowhere else you could go. And what AEW is doing with that I really enjoy is that they're going to have residencies for their tapings, for Dynamite, for Collision. So you get that brief window where it's like, oh, they're going to be in Philly for X amount of shows. Oh, they're going to be in the Hammerstein Ballroom for a set amount of shows. And each position is a different vibe that it brings to the shows.
Can I hot tag in here?
Yeah, Richie? Go right ahead.
See, this is beautiful because you just lobbed me up a softball, because what I was patiently waiting for it to come over at the circle is Tony Khan is imitating who he said is his biggest wrestling influence, Antonio Inoki. Because if you look how New Japan functions, they do these small tours. And what they'll do is they'll use the weekly television over there and these small shows and house shows to build to their big pay-per-views. And AEW now is doing the same thing. They'll play these small shows. Not that the 2300 isn't huge, but we know the 2300 isn't huge. They will build it up there, and then they'll go do an all-in. You know what I mean? Or whatever the case is. And that's what I like about it, is he's imitating people who have been successful outside of the WWE model. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm cheering so hard for AEW right now, is because they're going against the grain. They want to be a CMLL or a New Japan or a WXW over in Germany, or fucking All Japan Pro Wrestling, Big Japan. I could go forever, but you see, my point is people who have been successful for decades that did it without using the WWE model.
Absolutely. Husky, what do you think, babe?
I loved Double or Nothing, as a whole. I thought it was a fantastic pay-per-view. I had a great time watching it. Probably one of my favorite things, besides Anarchy in the Arena. Let's be real here. It's the best stipulation match, right now. If you don't have fun watching Anarchy in the Arena, I don't think you're really into this. Just saying. I don't know. Also, Hangman Will Ospreay. That is long-term storytelling at its best, in my opinion. this like redemption arc for Hangman Page is going to go insane. And I am so locked in to everything about it. The stuff with Swerve this past Dynamite, oh, give it to me. Like homemade ice cream. It's beautiful.
Swerve and Hangman are very much the would you just kiss already boy band of AEW, and that's what I'm waiting on.
Please.
Listen, we've done enough lesbian storylines between Mina, Tony, and Mariah. Give me one BL storyline between Swerve and Hangman, just so I can see the internet wrestling community
Let the
blow
boys
up.
kiss.
Let the boys kiss, damn it. But yeah, man, like I've been so out of it with AEW as of late. We've all spoken about it with either each other or individually on our own channels, but wrestling fatigue is incredibly real. Multiple different shows, hours a week, making content, cutting it, editing it, producing it, sending it out. It's a lot. It's very, very taxing. And Tony Storm obviously was the only thing really keeping me down for AEW. There's more of these random little bobs where she comes from because that's how down bad I am. But yeah, like Double or Nothing, Richie actually reminded me that it was happening. And I was like, fuck it. This is going to be one of her better matches. I'll just tune in. And the entire show made me love AEW again. And there was I feel like AEW had a hot streak where it was Swerve, Hangman 1. It was the Adam Cole, MJF friendship storyline with Roderick Strong. It was all of those moments. It was Tony and Mariah the first time around. Like they had maybe one of the hottest summers in wrestling in a long time. And then it just felt like it petered out. At least for me. And it feels like now they are using their big hitters the way that they should be. They're using Mox. Even though people aren't always a fan of the Death Riders, I feel like this crescendo that's about to happen between Paige and Mox and Swerve and Osprey, however that ends, I feel like that's going to be worth all of it. Everything with Tony and what she's been doing for the other women in the division, as well as Mercedes, she's been doing amazing. Max being with the Hurt Syndicate and Max being able to be that kind of like asshole-ish jokester that he was the first time around. I feel like he needed that in his character again, as opposed to just being serious and just being the mean company guy. I feel like we're kind of getting our footing back here. So I'm really excited to see where this leads into for All In. But unfortunately, we won't be going with everybody into All In because news broke recently. Richie actually made a post about it that Mariah May, her contract is no longer viable with AEW. I believe she let it expire, or they let it expire, or someone let it expire. And now she's a free agent and she's up in the air. A lot of people are assuming she's going to WWE. The big question is whether or not she shows up on main roster or if she goes to NXT. Some people feel like she needs the seasoning from NXT. Some people feels like she doesn't. I personally feel like she's going to end up in NXT just because they're going to need her to learn the WWE style.
Yep.
She's a Stardom girl at heart. She was in the Venus Club with Mina Shirakawa. The amazing work that she did with Tony. I met her. I got her to sign this poster. I sobbed in her arms. It was a beautiful moment. And now she's going to a completely different company, possibly. Best on the future endeavors. Always chase the bag wherever it goes. Do I feel like she needs it for the sake of her talent? No, Mariah May is incredibly talented, ridiculously so. I personally don't feel like they did enough with her during her title run. Not that she wasn't doing amazing. I just wanted to see more of her because that's how good she is. But for me, I think that they're going to send her down to NXT just so she can get adjusted to the WWE style. Will, I'm going to start with you. Do you think that's what she's going to do?
I think you said it in the last round. You had mentioned if somebody leaves one job, if somebody made your sub at Subway, it doesn't matter that they used to make it at Jimmy John's or whatever, right? This is the perfect example of that. If somebody was a huge Mariah May fan in AEW, you should still be a huge Mariah May fan in WWE. I am a huge University of Tennessee Vols fan. I bleed Big Orange football. It's my favorite time of the year is during college football season. We had a guy play here. He just happens to be the greatest to ever throw football. His name was Peyton Manning. Okay. When Peyton left UT, he didn't play for the Titans. You know where he played? He played for the Colts. And guess what?
That's right.
I still fucking loved Peyton Manning. When he left the Colts, he almost came to the Titans and he went to the Broncos. Guess what? I still loved Peyton Manning. In pro wrestling, it's okay to still love someone even if they don't work for your favorite company. Some of my favorite wrestlers don't work for either WWE or AEW. We just talked about one, Alex Kane. You know what I mean? I was just saying, I think that man is ready for NXT TV. And I'm worried, you know what I mean? Like, I think Mariah May, at the very core of it, is 1,000% ready for WWE television. Send her to NXT. Let her figure out the fine tuning, twist the nuts and bolts the way you did with Julia, with Stephanie Vakir, with fucking Jordan Grace, with Roxanne Perez. You know what I mean? All of these women have shown you consistently that you take them from the indies and from other promotions, put them in NXT, let them learn the way WWE and sports entertainers wrestle, and then they're going to be main event. She'll be ready for the main roster in a year. You know, the same amount of time that Stephanie and Julia just did, she'll do it. Just as fans, we need to keep the same energy that we did as supporting her in AEW as we do when she debuts in WWE. Even if they do something wonky with her name, you know what I mean? Like,
God,
yeah,
Maria May.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. You got
like
it.
what
But yeah.
like what I want from Mercedes actually is what Mariah did. Like when Mariah took the title off of Tony, Mariah made sure that the title was still relevant. Were the matches built as much as they were when it was with Tony? I personally don't feel like they did, but Mariah still made it work. The promo, the vignettes that Mariah used to cut, 5-star, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, great.
That's all I want from Mercedes if she takes this title off of Tony at All In. And it's like what Will said. It's very similar. I think Richie mentioned this with Ricochet when Ricochet went to AEW. It's still Ricochet. He's still just as bald as he was when he was in NXT to when he was in the main roster to now in AEW. You can still like Ricochet in different areas, in different places. He doesn't change magically. He doesn't lose all of his hit points. It's the same person. You can still enjoy it. You can still have fun. You can still love wrestling. It's just in a different area. Husky, what do you think about the whole thing with Mariah May and where she's going? If she's going to WWE at all?
That's even the bigger example. I'm sorry, Husky, but that right there, what you just said is the key point. We don't know for sure. The suspicion is, but she could end up going anywhere. I'm sorry, Husky.
Yeah. Honestly, now kind of putting that out there, I would love to see her in TNA.
Fuck yeah, dude.
I think she would do gangbusters for Knockouts division. Like, give me Mariah May, Masha Slamovich.
Ooh.
Give me all of that shit. The promo work is going to be crazy. The in-ring work is going to be crazy. Like, whoever's running TNA, fucking throw whatever she wants at you. Just back the Brinks truck up.
Yep.
Honestly, at this point.
For real. Like, yeah, if she does go to NXT, I think what Will said is probably the best course of action there. Give her about a year, maybe, if that, depending on how well she adapts to it. Like, because I think she could probably pick up on it pretty quick just from her experience in AEW. She's like, okay, this is kind of what they do in American television. And then just put that little WWE shine on it. And then, yeah, bring her up to the main roster. Her and Charlotte will probably go better than her and Tiffany Stratton.
Oh, yes, they will.
I was there for that one too. Jesus.
Ooh.
All right, the Richie Mars, what you got for me?
I mean, with people are gonna leave promotions wherever they're going. You know what I mean? And people are gonna go to other promotions. That's how the business works. And I feel like a lot of people take the business side of wrestling, especially the fans, a lot more personally. And I never really understood why, because these wrestlers are trying to make a living out of it and they're trying to forward their own career, whether they're getting paid more by the other promotions they're going or not. The one edge that WWE will always have on AEW, at least in this current era, is that they have the uh, they have the advantage of people growing up with it. They have the nostalgia factor. No, wrestlers who are wrestling nowadays, they're not in the business because of AEW unless they started 5 years ago. You know, with everything, WWE has been a franchise since pretty much the 80s. And because of that, you're going to have a lot of people who are allured towards that. Now, if Mariah May, and I know people have been speculating that she's going to WWE just because on social media posts that she made when she was a fan, going to WrestleMania, all that kind of stuff. I think with the NXT TNA partnership and the purchase of AAA, it's a huge opportunity for Mariah May to be someone that could be like that traveling person within all these different organizations and get as much face time on these promotions as possible so you could build up her name. Now, WWE is currently doing a thing with the ID program, Evolve, and what I like to call is formulating the indies, formulating that pipeline so they can control that independent wrestling talent. And it's smart on their part. For the entire business, I still need to see how it plays out. However, with Mariah May, she's 26, so it's like if she's not world champion within a year, which I think she could possibly be, but it's not gonna be like, okay, I'm not gonna like stress out about it because it's like, again, she's still so young. There are people who are upset that Javon Evans lost on SmackDown, and I'm just like, he's 21, like he has time.
Mhm.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And with Mariah May, her in NXT, you already had two big call-ups, technically four if you want to count Roxanne and Julia. Like Mariah May could make NXT her show. And it's like, what would you rather be? The top name on the third brand or just another name on brand 1 and 2? Let her get established in NXT and then just kind of move up from there. Find herself. She could be Mary Beth June or whatever name they're going to give her. And
I fucking love that.
Yeah.
Mary
I
Beth
love
June.
that.
Don't
Mary
you
Beth
do that
June.
to my girl, Richie Mars.
Mary Beth June versus JC Jane. I see it in the light.
Oh,
Fuck
Lord.
no.
You could be again. They could do what they want, like with that. It's
Oh
like
no.
it's like with Mariah May, and people get really offended when people go to one place to the other. It happened with Edge going to AEW. Happened with Ricochet going to AEW. Like people took it like really personally, and I never really got it being like a personal attack, and people treat it like a personal attack, and it really shouldn't be. It's like again, I'm not these guys and girls agents, so why would I care? Where you go. I'm gonna watch you on television anyway. I could have disagreements on how you're using creatively, but again, it's not my company. It's not my problem. I'm not gonna stress about how somebody's booked because I don't run the place. Some comments say otherwise that I do control the show, but that's neither here nor there. But again, it's Mariah May's career. She's still young. I think she left AEW in the best way possible. Like she wasn't outspoken. She didn't say like AEW treated me poorly, XYZ, at least to my knowledge. Like again, there was no slandering, no discrepancy with it. It's like the old territory ways where it's like you're in for one storyline, you complete the storyline to elevate the talent that's already there, and then you go into the next territory. WWE with being like the main option that people are looking on for Mariah May. So again, I wish her nothing but the best, and I think she's going to do very well wherever she goes because she's that talented and such young age. Like there's no rush either, And I think WWE, they're a marketing machine, so I think she's like one of the perfect people that you want to market as in terms of being a WWE superstar if they want to make her a forefront of that division.
I really do like the idea that Richie just said of Mariah kind of being the head of the women's division in NXT. That is what I wanted for Tiffany Stratton, honestly. And I don't think that she's any less talented than any other woman on that main roster. but I really do feel like Tiffany could have benefited from just being on an island unto herself in NXT above everybody else, as opposed to being immediately thrown in with all these other incredibly large names. And she has been doing amazing. I have no problem with Tiffany Stratton at all. I just wish that I would have seen her be a Queen Bee character for a little while longer in NXT before she came up. And I really hope that if they do decide to do that with Mariah May, that's what they give her. She deserves the largest pedestal. She is absolutely amazing. I actually saw her, and it took me a little while to realize this. I saw her at the Dynamite where she debuted against Queen Aminata. And then I made friends with Richie, and then Richie made the turn happen between Tony and Mariah. And I sobbed live on camera because that happened. But in all seriousness, that woman and Tony Storm helps me fall in love with wrestling again when I really didn't think that I could. That storyline has fed families and will continue to do so for generations. And I'm forever grateful for that woman. May she be successful for wherever she goes. And it's kind of obvious that she's going to be successful because of how talented she is. And speaking of the company that she could possibly be going to sooner rather than later, it'd be kind of wild if she showed up at Money in the Bank. I just need her, honestly, to show up at Money in the Bank. Just throw everything off of its axis. Honestly, like no one thought that Alexa Bliss was coming back, and that she came back in Royal Rumble. So fuck it, just like keep fucking with the wrestling diaspora. But speaking of Money in the Bank, we were going to talk about the predictions, and we are still going to talk about predictions for the men and women's briefcases. But then the main event isn't either Money in the Bank briefcase. The main event is a tag team match between John Cena and Logan Paul and Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. And neither title is on the line. It's just a match to fight. Husky, we're going to start with you because you sound real verbal about this one.
This shit sucks. That's just all I gotta say. This shit sucks. Like, I understand that this is all John Cena's like planned storyline thing is ruining it, but I think he's doing it for a shoot because this shit sucks, dude. Logan fucking Paul is main eventing Money in the Bank. God damn it.
But
I hate it.
he has a really good buckshot lariat. Husky, that excuses like everything, right?
Whoa, now it's now called the snapshot lariat in WWE. Buckshot's in the other place.
He did it. He did it good twice. Ever since then, it's looked like utter dog shit.
He had that one spot with Ricochet, and he's just been coasting off of that ever since.
For real. That's what got him That's what got him an extended contract. Like, holy shit. This kid's fucking insane.
The thing with
we can't let him go to Japan, but
I mean, he wouldn't be able to if he could. He couldn't if they wanted to.
Yeah, that's what I said. We can't let him in Japan. So if we do the Japan tour, we can't put a belt on him. Like so.
Jesus Lord. It's like they almost forgot. They're like, oh yeah, like Logan can just do these spots and we'll be fine. And then they realize that they need to have someone else to do the spot with, and not a lot of people can move like that. They just let go one of the biggest movers that could do that, which was Ricochet. So who's going to be doing the high flying spots now with him? What, Penta and Phoenix?
Yeah, it'll be Ray Phoenix.
It'll be Ray because he's slightly higher of a flyer than Penta is. Penta's more of the acrobat.
This random celebrity match has gone on for too long, WWE. You can send him home now. It's okay.
It's the longest season of Celebrity Deathmatch.
Jesus God.
Just without the fun of claymation.
I need Jeff Cobb to like throw him into the sun. Please. Or whatever. What's his name now?
JC Mateo.
Thank you.
It's probably a combination of like 3 of his children's names. That's usually what the Samoan families do at this point.
I wonder what JC Mateo, the JC, what Jeff Cobb's new name stands for. JC. That's a real big
deal. His full government name is actually Jeff Cobb Mateo.
That actually is like a great name. I'm not gonna lie.
that's actually a pretty
He's
solid
like, you
name.
know what? No one would ever figure, so I'm just gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
All right, but
Perfect.
Husky, who do you have for the men and women's briefcases?
I want Roxanne Perez to win Money in the Bank. Really bad. For the
But can she
men,
reach it though?
that is a valid point, sir.
She's gonna need
It's
a
a
high
valid-
rise on the ladder.
She gets
God.
she gets that giant Jeff Hardy joint that's like fucking like 45 feet tall.
Oh, what about the Big Show ladder? Do you guys remember the Big Show ladder?
The fucking giant heavy duty one.
The giant one.
I just want the ladder that Sean jumped off and hit Vince in the trash can with. I think
Yeah.
man, I think that was like a 30-foot ladder, and man, that was just so good.
Yeah, that's the one that Darby Allin jumped off of when he killed Jeff Hardy on the chairs.
Well, you know.
You know.
You know.
But the men's one, I forget who's all in the men's one. My brain is like soup right now.
So it's Rollins, Penta, Solo.
Okay.
I think
Andrade.
Andrade just got the spot. Yeah.
Andrade,
Andrade.
LA Knight, and the last one is
Yeah.
either going to be Punk, AJ Styles, or El Grande Americano.
I will throw up, Richie.
Fuck off.
I will throw up.
Listen, he's undefeated. He's the speed champion.
Don't you even fucking get over here with this shit.
But
They put-
do wins and losses matter or not in WWE? Because like
They-
he is
they put
undefeated.
the
He
trash
deserves at
table
least a
gimmick.
qualifying match.
Of course,
the-
they gave him the speed championship.
Well, speed is actually low key like fire. I'm not gonna lie. I love WWE speed.
That
You're
is
in and out in
the
3 minutes at least.
that is the first positive thing I've ever heard about speed.
Because no one watches it but me.
I think
Richie's the only one.
He's keeping the lights on for speed.
He's the only one.
Well, here's the thing. Now I get paid to watch stuff now. So
There you
now
go.
it's like yeah.
There we go.
There
we
goes that
go.
whole corporate chill thing we were talking about
No,
earlier.
it's like, look, it's like if you just give me the money and I'll I'll watch your stuff.
Okay, so men's Money in the Bank, Seth Rollins
Ooh.
with some fuckery from Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed.
I want to fight it, but I can't because they're good picks. I want to fight it, but I can't because they're good picks. God damn it. Fuck. All right.
Although
What you got for
if
me,
CM Punk wins, he gets Money in the Bank, and at the end of that tag match, he beats John Cena and recreates Money in the Bank again. I will lose my goddamn mind. I will mark out so hard. I will forget that I am a 39-year-old man with a bad back, and I will throw my back out, moshing ignorantly as Cult of Personality plays. First time I've tried to throw a spin kick since 2009.
He hasn't been in the pits for long. It's been a minute.
I'll come out of
Will
Mosh
Gray, what you got
retirement
me
for CM
picks
Punk.
of me? What you got for me, Will? Who are your picks for Money in the Bank, and what do you think of the newly announced main events?
My picks are short and sweet to the point. I think Seth Rollins is going to take that briefcase, and him and the Deadly Alliance 2025 are going to kind of use that as their bargaining chip. With Seth having that control, I think on the women's side, is Chelsea Green in it? Did I remember that right? No, she didn't get it. Okay, then Roxanne Perez, easy pick again. Echoing with Husky there, because I think she's prime for that spot. And as much as I hate to say it, she's over big time. So I think that if she's the first woman to fail a cash-in, it won't hurt her. Because there hasn't been a woman fail a cash-in yet. And I thought it was going to be Tiffany Stratton. And it's one of those, like, I keep doubling down on the bet because we all know it's coming. Because we've had men do it multiple times now. And the women's, they haven't done it yet. Like, they're eventually going to have somebody fail because it's going to become overly predictable if you continue to let them cash in and win every time. We just had one with Austin Theory a few years ago. You know what I mean? And I think Roxanne Perez has the power behind her to get it and then fail a cash in, but still elevate herself in defeat, that when she gets the title shot again later, it'll make sense when she wins it then. You know what I mean? The Rocky story.
I like that.
So that's easy for the picks. My 2 cents on the main event is it's tough for me to understand the why. If we only have John Cena for 12 months and at the end of the year he's gone forever, why are we doing a tag team match in arguably what is considered, if there's the big 4, if you want to include a big 5, it would almost guaranteed be, in most people's opinion, Money in the Bank. Like, the situation is like that. Why are we using such vital real estate on our television for Logan Paul and a thrown together tag team that held the title for 7 days because they got drunk on camera together?
Listen, that is more than enough of a reason for
But that's
them
the,
to
For
win.
WWE.
Like,
That
I
is-
love
that
it
is- that is-
dearly, but like, this is almost like WrestleMania 2 bad, where it's like, let's put a tag team main event on one of our biggest shows and expect the fans to love it. Like, no, Logan Paul is talented enough. He could work another match with Jey Uso and lose again, or lose to some shenanigans, or go to a no contest. And then guess what? For that third match, we get a cage match or a street fight. You know what I mean? They could build to a gimmick match that would make sense for, guess what? SummerSlam, your biggest show in the summer. But what the fuck do I know? I'm just a mark with a mic and a pen and a pad.
I mean, more than most, honestly. More than most, honestly. It's just, I don't know, man. At least for me personally, and I'm gonna have Richie close this particular one out, but just to get the predictions out of the way, Chelsea Green not being in the women's Money in the Bank match is an absolute waste. Waste.
Yeah.
I personally feel like they took what I wanted them to do, because being a wrestling fan is really being in a state of want, if we're going to be completely honest. I wanted them to take the title off of Chelsea, to give her Money in the Bank, to have her win and cash in the way that she should have the year that Tiffany Stratton won it. I feel like the year that Tiffany Stratton won that title, I'm sorry, not that title, the briefcase, I feel like that should have been Chelsea's year. That's just me. And I feel like they should have let Tiffany kind of run around in the mid card a little bit longer so people could get to know her and love her the way that I loved her from her character work in NXT. But she did amazing work either way, because Tiffany Stratton's amazing. But Chelsea Green now having kind of nothing to do is kind of criminal to me. The fact that she took Piper Niven and what was it, Alba Fire, and now they're the Secret Hervis, and now they're doing amazing, hilarious backstage vignettes. They just had one recently where she's singing Tomorrow and having a mental breakdown, and Alba and Piper are both trying to calm her down to keep her from crying. Like, this is amazing mean girl character work, and I want it on my TV all the time. And I absolutely love Zelina Vega. There is a pop figure of her around here somewhere. I love Zelina Vega because she is home for me. She's every girl that I've ever grown up with, every girl that I've ever watched wrestling with that never felt like they could relate to anybody about it because no one else watched it but her. She's that girl for me. And I want her to know nothing but success. But besides a couple of really good, like, AI generated, like, title pictures of her on her Instagram, it's been what, a couple of tag team matches, a couple of really weird, odd spots for Zelina Vega, when with Chelsea Green, they immediately gave her everything. They gave her the car, they gave her the keys and said, drive. It doesn't feel like they're doing the same thing with Zelina. So I feel like if they were going to take the title off of Chelsea, I wanted it to mean something or for it to push her towards something. It doesn't seem like we're getting that now, but hopefully they learn from their mistakes. With the women's Money in the Bank, if it's not Chelsea, I feel like it has to be Naomi. Naomi, Jade Cargill, and the Bianca Belair storyline has been coming to a head. This past SmackDown, this one that just happened this past Friday night, was amazing. I feel like all their character work is great. I feel like Naomi and her character of just being the overlooked, frustrated like performer is really coming through. And I think there is a little bit of truth in that. There was that interview that Mick Foley said that at least like 10% of your character has to actually be you in order for it to actually work. And I feel like Naomi does feel like she's been overlooked for years and underappreciated and has worked and reached for those proverbial brass rings and has never really been able to grab onto it. Not for anything that has been her own fault. Naomi's been over for a long time now. I believe she won her first title in her hometown, and that pop was insane. And the pops continue to be incredibly intense, and they just never really booked on it and banked on it. So hopefully now they see just how rabid the fan base is for Naomi and go with her for that. Same thing with men's Money in the Bank. I feel like Carmelo Hayes not being in it is an absolute waste of time. They pulled him up for NXT for what? I really feel like if they were going to do with anything with him on the main roster, I understand more money's more money. But he could be down in NXT with Trick Williams right now, still doing amazing work. I would love to see Carmelo Hayes in TNA as well. Carmelo Hayes and Javon Evans would be amazing. Carmelo Hayes and Wes Lee. I would love to see Carmelo Hayes and what the heck is his name now? Ricky Saint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, he might be being called up right now.
Like, give me something. Give them, like, put them together. That would be an amazing matchup, an amazing feud. But it feels like they just aren't doing things with the people who should be benefiting from Money in the Bank. Like when Damian won Money in the Bank and no one really thought that he was going to cash in because it almost turned into a full calendar year of him having that briefcase and doing nothing with it. And then finally cashing it in at Mania and then going on the run that he did. That's what Money in the Bank is supposed to do. It's supposed to kind of pluck someone from obscurity and help them out. Not that Damian was obscure. He was in Judgment Day. He wasn't the favorite, though. We know he wasn't the favorite, but putting that title on him helped him get more light. That's what these titles, these mid-card opportunities are supposed to do. So with who we have right now for Money in the Bank, storyline-wise, I want it to be Punk. I feel like Seth Rollins can do 1,000 things right now with Braun, and he'll be totally fine. I want Punk to win and not to cash it at Money in the Bank like Husky said. I want him to hold it until John Cena's final match where he keeps the title and then he cashes in on John on his very last match in WWE and make sure that he did what John couldn't do for him and make sure that John doesn't go home with the title. That's what I want from Money in the Bank. He gets to do the job that John couldn't do himself when VKM was running it. Once again, people have feelings about CM Punk or Phil Brooks or whatever. The run that he's been on recently, I really, really enjoyed. The best match from WrestleMania this past year for me was the main event of night one. That Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, CM Punk match was absolutely amazing. Being able to hear This Fire sang in Allegiant Stadium at the top of everyone's lungs, it made me very, very emotional, knowing that it wasn't this version of Phil Brooks that wanted a Mania main event. It was that version of Phil Brooks that got his Mania main event finally. And, you know, like it was a really, really good moment for CM Punk. And I want to see him continue to have that. And if we're going to be completely honest here, they're going to need more monoliths to like carry forward when John's gone. They can't just bank everything on Cody. So them making multiple like Mount Rushmore heads before John leaves, at least for me, would make the most sense. And making sure that Cody and CM Punk and possibly even Randy having good, solid legend statuses on them before John leaves gives them more opportunities as opposed to just putting it all on Cody. So giving Punk that big final exclamation point on John's career could definitely help set them up for success going forward. We just got to see what's happening. Richie, what do you think about both cases and the main event?
For the main event, it is a lost opportunity if we don't get a prime flavor called the West Newberry flavor.
I hate it. I hate it. I
Oh,
hate it. Don't you
God.
fucking bring that shit.
No, don't you put that evil on us.
Yeah, but yeah, with the main event, it's just like I knew we were probably going to get a tag match in there just because Cena himself said like he's regressed in the ring, so he can't do much. I think a lot of people, when Cena announced his retirement tour, and people are like, "Oh, he's full time." He's still taking projects. People were expecting the United States Championship Open Challenge run, but we were gonna get somewhere more of like his matches with Austin Theory and Solo Sikoa, which were passable. But again, it's the greatest hits, and I think him turning heel, it's a way for him to like it's strange because it's like his retirement. It's like you want to cheer him, but it's like it's his heel turn. We're just gonna do it just because it's like a good what if scenario, and the ruining wrestling. It's fine in theory, but at the same time, I still want to be entertained by it. Because if I'm not being entertained by what I'm watching on television, then it's just boring to me. Then it's ambivalence. Then I don't care about it. With the John Cena and Logan Paul tag team, again, I think it was bound to happen in either a match against each other or teaming with them at this rate. It's easy heat for Cena. It puts Cody in a great position to be cheered because I know a lot of people were thinking because Cody was getting booed that one time at the WrestleMania crowd meant he was like failing as a babyface, which is kind of absurd because WrestleMania crowds are always going to do what they're always going to do and just kind of go rogue. But Cody Rhodes, great babyface. Jey Uso, great babyface. Potential cash in at the end of the night? I don't think so. I think Cody gets the pin here, probably on Cena, sets up for SummerSlam. With Jey Uso defending against Gunther on the Raw after is really like how I think the Money in the Bank might play out. Like everyone said, Seth Rollins. I think Seth Rollins is the most likely option. I think LA Knight has a good chance of winning, but other than that, those are like one and two when it comes with that, because then you have Seth Rollins trying to cash in, and then that's makes the match triple threat match. You try to do Heist of the Century Part 2, and then Roman comes back, costs set the title or the briefcase, anything like that. And it was like somebody reported, I think it was WrestleVotes, said that Triple H isn't a fan of the Money in the Bank prop. Now, whether he means the physical briefcase itself or the concept, I mean, for the concept, it's like it's really hard to have a spin on it. You know what I mean? Because everyone's been doing the whole cash in thing. And I think there's this whole perception of the Money in the Bank. It creates stars. It doesn't create stars. There have been people who had great moments, but it doesn't solidify them as top names. Like you could argue Edge, Seth Rollins, Tiffany Stratton, potentially Dolph Ziggler. But other than that, these cash-ins were great moments, but it didn't like proceed to bring them to the next level. Like who remembers the Nikki ASH cash-in? Who remembers like the cash-in with majority of the women's cash-ins? They're usually like from like within a span of a day or that same night. Who remembers the Kane cash-in? Who remembers the Jack Swagger cash-in and what that did for them? It didn't really do anything. The Money in the Bank is a good moment maker. It's not a star maker, because the star maker is how the championship reign is after the fact. And majority of the Money in the Bank cash-ins that were successful, the title reigns usually failed from expectations, which is why with rumors Triple H is not really a fan of it, and he's trying to do something different. Like I think I was one of the only people who were fine with the Drew cash-in from last year, because I'm like, look, it's something different at least. It's not just like wait to the end of the match and then XYZ failed cash-in. I think people think of it, Money in the Bank's a failure if the cash-in isn't successful. But if it leads to more storyline opportunities, I'm fine with it using, because if you think about it, Money in the Bank championships, they're all plot devices in the grand scheme of things when it comes to telling a story. And with Money in the Bank, is it more exciting if someone successfully cashes in? Yes, but if they don't have any plans after the fact, then what was the point of it? It was there for that good moment, but then after, it's like it doesn't really matter. And that's why it's like I'm thinking with my WWE TKO brain with this, where it's like they're going to give the briefcase to somebody with notoriety. And now that we have Evolution 2 that's down the line, I could honestly see them give the Money in the Bank, even though she doesn't need it. I could honestly see them give the Money in the Bank to Rhea Ripley, because let's be honest, if they make Mommy in the Bank briefcases, customized briefcases, that is going to sell like hotcakes. And then you have Rhea Ripley. She doesn't cash in like, how the traditional cash in is, but she'll be the first woman to announce it ahead of time and try to finally defeat Io Sky that way.
Call her shot like Rob Van Dam did against John
I love
Cena.
that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's like it's babyface move. It puts like more steam behind the Io and Rhea stuff, and it gives them that singles blow-off match. And I really do think that's where it's probably going to go. Like WWE is usually good with keeping one babyface and one heel as Money in the Bank winners, but I think we are overdue for a babyface Money in the Bank winner. So I think either Rhea or LA Knight take it for the babyfaces, or if you go for a heel, you go Naomi and Seth Rollins. But yeah, it's like, again, I think the Money in the Bank, it's a popular concept, and that's why they kept it around. But in just like by seeing Triple H's short time like booking the show, I really don't think he has the urge to try to make Money in the Bank as much as a special moment, and instead use it to forward stories instead of making it a moment maker like it was in the past. And it's going to have its pros and cons, where it's like the moment maker, cool, it was special for that moment, but what happens after the fact, nobody really remembers or cares. Like, people remember the Dolph Ziggler cash in, but no one remembers after the fact. And even before the concussion, he was just going to drop it back to Del Rio anyway. So again, it's one of those things where, again, cool moment, but if you want to make it for the long-term story, you have to do what you have to do with it.
It's just wild to me that, like, I don't know. I always preferred Money in the Bank as a tack on to WrestleMania, as a stipulation match that happened at WrestleMania. Especially now, you can take advantage of it with WrestleMania being 2 nights. You can put the men's on one night, the women's on the other, and then either make a brand new pay-per-view to take that slot, or just completely omit it and give more breathing room in between your PLEs. That way there's more time to absorb. Because this could be just me being an old head, but I remember there being like 3-month intervals between major pay-per-views, and them kind of having to make storylines last and be tangible, and for you to be able to feel it, to get you between point 1 to point 2, like for it to get you between Rumble to Mania to what was it, Fastlane or No Mercy or whatever it was after that, Armageddon, and then from Armageddon all the way to like King of the Ring. Like, you had to keep people's attentions between those long periods of time when your pay-per-views weren't running. And now there's 1 to 2 pay-per-views a month. That's WWE and NXT. So you have a lot to deal with. You have a lot of major things to completely have to get people to pop. And it's taxing. It's a lot. Yes, Richie.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where, and AEW, I think this is where like the popularity declined for a little bit, where it's like you have the oversaturation of the brand, right? Where it's like you had Saturday night's main event, then Rumble, then you had the Elimination Chamber, then you had WrestleMania, then you had all these things, and if the fan is overwhelmed by it, they're going to tune out just because of the overwhelmingness of it. And with AEW, they had a similar thing where it was like, all right, we have Dynamite, then Rampage, then Battle of the Belts, Collision. And sometimes you would have like these 4-hour blocks of shows that could be overstimulating. And now that AEW scaled back, you could see the improvement of the product because they're making a lot more with less time. And with WWE, they are contractually obligated for all these hours of television, 2.5 hours on Netflix, 3 hours on SmackDown, and 2 hours on NXT, occasionally 2 hours on Saturday nights. And if it's a pay-per-view, then it's like 3 to 4 hours. So you're talking about, just in the ballpark, like if there's not a major show, about doing quick math, about 7 hours of television a week. And then if you add more to like a pay-per-view or Saturday night's main event, then you're going to have like 10 to like 12 to 14 hours, which is a lot to consume within a week's amount of time. Because if you watch something for 3 hours a week, that's like watching Titanic for a week, everything. I'm not saying like the shows are bad, even though I don't like the 3-hour format at all. I think it's like, it just drags out 2 hours and just stretches it out so much that it's like, it's just kind of needless. But again, it's for ad revenue. It's like that's the bottom line with WWE. They're going to get more consumption from the ad revenue because even though people like to point out the ratings for SmackDown and Raw haven't been as high as they used to be, the thing is, USA Network, SmackDown is still one of their highest programs for ratings. So that's why the third hour is still going to be there because more ad revenue for USA Network. And I feel like a lot of people need to are going to come to a point where it's like they're going to pick and choose what they're going to watch. I know people don't watch NXT. And that's why when people who do watch NXT saying it's like, oh, why aren't they following the storyline on Raw to SmackDown to NXT? Because a lot of people don't watch NXT. You know, they'll reference it here and there, but NXT is somewhat non-canon to the grand scheme of things when it comes to WWE main roster, which is a good and bad thing. Good because if they had a really terrible run in NXT, then it's like you could just kind of soft reboot them there. But if they did have a good run in NXT, then it's just kind of like, well, shucks. Now we have to kind of like still start from zero and then rebuild them in a sense when they get called up to the main roster.
Absolutely. And it's just like I just want this to work for the people involved. Like you said, like it can't be a star maker. It just gives you the moment and the opportunity to see what you can do with it. And there's so many people in that match that have such like possibilities behind them. Like you said, Mommy in the Bank, the merch behind it, I'm already broke. I'm already in the negative. I need all of it immediately. Same thing with the Damian Priest briefcase. Same thing with the Tiffany Stratton briefcase. When Damian Sandow had the leather briefcase, I needed it immediately. But I just wish that they would use it for something that was a little bit more than the moment. But it's the industry that we're in, unfortunately. And hopefully it leads to something beneficial, usually at things like, like Survivor Series, SummerSlam, WrestleMania. Those are the bigger places where people usually try and cash in. It's very rare that they'll do it on like a random Monday night.
And the thing is with Money in the Bank in general, now that New Orleans, which is going to be the next topic, is going to get Money in the Bank, they're going to try to make Money in the Bank this year as appealing as possible as a major show, which is why we're getting that John Cena, Logan Paul, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso tag match, I believe. Just because it shows like, oh, you see, we do care about Money in the Bank. You know, and Money in the Bank has been a very profitable show for WWE, so much so that for a long time it overtook Survivor Series as the big four. So you have to kind of like put on the cap and be like, all right, WWE is now under TKO, and TKO's bottom line is the almighty dollar. So when you see different things and different things happen, yeah, creatively, it's like again, it's going to be pros and cons. But when they do certain things, you're like, all right, it's going to be a cash grab, and that's what Money in the Bank, no pun intended, is, and that is a cash grab, which is why even though it's like, oh, they should put it at WrestleMania, they should just like kind of have it like this. It's like, nah, there's a reason why they kept Money in the Bank, because if they really wanted to switch up the schedule up, they would have gotten rid of Money in the Bank. They got rid of Hell in a Cell, they got rid of TLC, they got all those name pay-per-views. But the reason why Elimination Chamber and Money in the Bank are still there is because they make a lot of money.
It's the industry that we live in. It's the industry that we work for. And it's funny that you mentioned the next topic coming up, because now what you just said has me thinking something a little bit interesting, is that do you think the Logan Paul, John Cena, Jey Uso, Cody Rhodes match, it feels kind of like a proverbial like, hey, like we're kind of sorry about Mania for next year, but we'll make sure that we'll make Money in the Bank a big deal. So we'll make this year's Money in the Bank a big deal. Like you said, like, hey, like we care about Money in the Bank too. That way for next year, the people who were promised Mania and got Money in the Bank instead in NOLA can be like, oh, well, like maybe we'll get a big match next year because they did John Cena and Money in the Bank this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a very viable option why the tag match is happening. Also, we're also not sure about John Cena the rest of his dates, so it could be a case of we're not going to see John for a while after Money in the Bank, so they want to get the build for him and Cody as soon as possible if they're planning on doing SummerSlam. And I think everyone needs to kind of realize, at least people who are so focused on it's like, oh, why are they doing John, Logan, Cody, Jay? As much as like people have their feelings towards any of the four men involved as talents, as people, whatever, they are legitimate like draws. And I think that's one of the biggest positives Triple H's regime, if you want to call it, has. He was able to make multiple draws off many people. It started with Roman, like he only had Roman for a bit, and then Cody. And now if you just look at what he's done with the, if you want to call it the mid card, cool. But it's like the stars like LA Knight, stars like Chad Gable, stars that are not getting the necessary attention beforehand. If you look at the progressiveness of when LA Knight was coming out to when he switched from Maxine Dupree or Max Dupree into current day, again, now we're in an era where people can be popular in the middle of the card and not coming out to crickets. So now we're having legitimate draws where people are reacting to them. Like beforehand, it's like they produced Cody Rhodes's theme song. It's like people do the whoa. It's like the arena shakes. They made WWE more of an interactive experience where before it was telling you this is the person you're supposed to cheer for. Now it's more of like, yeah, you could like chant to Seth Rollins' song. He's still a bad guy, but it's like it's not going to deter us from telling the story. So it's one of those things where they're making WWE the experience rather than we're going to tell the story whether you like it or not. And again, both sides have its pros and its cons, where it's like on the one hand, it's like you're going to tell the story, but people might be ambivalent to it. On the other hand, you're going to have everyone reacting, but you're not going to get the reactions that you're trying to get from the story.
I can definitely take that. And speaking of WrestleMania, like we were saying before, Husky, I want to start with you for this one. Do you think that the whole thing with NOLA for 2026 for Mania, for me personally, it feels a little bit, it's not going down easily for me. I don't know why. I'm broke from this past Mania, let me tell you. So it's not like I was planning on going next year, wherever it was going to be either way. But to announce it in the stadium at Allegiant both nights that it was going to be in NOLA for 2026, to immediately say, nah, we're actually thinking of doing either London or Saudi, to then again renege and be like, actually, we're just going to do Vegas for a second year in a row because apparently we will not ever make enough, as much revenue any other place as we did in comparison to Vegas. And now there's rumors going around that they may just do a residency in Vegas, very similar to how the UFC fights are usually held in Vegas. Like, what are we thinking about that as a fan? Because this move for me feels like it's more for the casuals, people that are looking for just like a big thing to do on vacation, a big event to tack off. Recently, Halsey actually made a TikTok post saying that one of her concerts, the crowd was dead. No one was reacting, no one was having fun, and someone made a reaction stitch saying because your fans aren't in the crowd because they're getting priced out. It's people that are going to concerts as status symbols that are in these crowds, not the actual fans of the people who absorb the product. And that's very much what it felt like in Vegas. There were a few people there asking who Dominic Mysterio was, and I wanted to throw something at them. But then I remembered that my beer was $18 and my slice of pizza was $19, so I couldn't afford to throw anything. But yeah, it just feels really weird seeing this now become the thing where there's celebrities getting mentioned in the Netflix episodes of Raw, and the front seats are now being exponentially priced out for those people as well. I love Vanessa Hudgens, but that seat could go to somebody else,
Yeah. I kind of figured this was going to happen at some point. When the TKO merger happened, I was like, well, UFC's based in Vegas. I think there's going to be some type of residency coming up, and their bottom line is we got to get money from these people, and they never made apparently as much money as they did when they were in Vegas. So I think TKO's like, nah, let's keep it here. Let's keep it here. We like the revenue that we're getting here in Vegas. Let's keep it for another year, see if we can beat it. Now, possibly, if they're like, well, we did lower numbers this time around, let's go back to how we had it. Maybe this is just a test run. I don't know.
It just seems so weird because night 2, when Stone Cold Steve Austin drunkily came out on that ATV and almost ran that woman over in the crowd,
Holy
uh,
shit.
he was the person to say that I believe night 1 had 70,000 people, night 2 had maybe like 59,000 to 60,000. And then he said in total, it was 120,000 something people that showed up. And I'm like, I'm in the same seat I was yesterday, Steve. I don't think I count as 2 people, but maybe that's just how they count it. Maybe that's just the clicker at the entrance. But
Yeah.
speaking as
Mhm.
someone that was in the section that I was in the section with people who claimed to be 100% legitimate day 1 fans, and they were absolutely appalled with the pricing. Going to clubs after Mania to go meet up with Damian Priest and Tiffany Stratton, $80 to get into the club, $600 for the picture. You can't pick who you get the picture with. It has to be both of them. The meet and greets that are now only ran by what is it, Fanatics?
Mhm.
Fanatics, yeah.
They're not doing con anymore. They're not doing WrestleCon anymore unless you're a legend or brand new. No one related to WWE can do cons anymore, apparently. I had a friend who did Fanatics Fest, only to find out that the only things that she could get autographed were WWE licensed merch. So she drew a picture for Bailey that couldn't get autographed because it wasn't WWE licensed merch, which I feel is absolutely horrendous. But then again, that's just me. And yeah, this kind of once again just brings me back to me being a wrestling fan and me being that little girl living in New York, living in the Bronx, hoping and praying that we got the pay-per-view on the illegal cable box, let alone anything else. So now knowing that these kids that love this product that were day 1s are now going to be getting priced out slowly as time goes on breaks my heart. Breaks my heart. These tickets are not cheap. These tickets are not cheap. I think we spent like into the few $1,000s, and that was before like dynamic pricing kicked in from Ticketmaster. People, I don't think night 2 was sold out. That's how expensive the tickets were. So yeah, like of course you're going to be making a lot of money when you're charging everything under the sun that these people are even breathing on. Yeah, of course. But that's only going to last but for so long. And it's like what Richie was saying beforehand. The Mania crowd is all over the place. And I personally feel like the Mania crowd's all over the place is because it's not just diehards there. It's also the casual fans, and they may not know the chance. They may not know the timing. Like, I swear to God, if I see one more casual fan not yeet on beat, I'm going to lose my mind. Like, honestly, we can't yeet in the non-major cities because for some reason, the non-major cities just don't have rhythm. I don't know what it is with the Midwest. I don't understand, but that's just what it is. But these kids won't be able to be in those moments because someone who saw a 30-second snippet of Jey Uso on TikTok to like a popular trending sound thought it was cool, and they're going to get that ticket. And that's the big problem for me because over time, yeah, you're going to be making the money, but then the people at home won't have that nice, good little crowd reaction to kind of vibe off on because the crowd's going to be dead. The crowd won't be any good. You want a good fan, a diehards. It's like what Will said earlier about Anarchy in the Arena. That arena singing bodies for 10 minutes straight, unwavering.
Crazy.
That kept me invested. You want those hype ass fans. It's very similar, like what we were talking about beforehand with the old Performance Center in Full Sail. Some of the best moments in Black and Gold NXT were crowd based. So yeah, next year they might try it again and it might be successful. Great. Revenue is great, but your business is built on the fans that you're selling it to. What do you do when your fans don't engage anymore?
I think it's more of because WWE and even Nick Khan said this, like the hardcore fan, which I think all of us kind of like fit in that scenario, is always going to be there. So they're not worried about that market. They're worried about the market they haven't touched yet, which is the Netflix market, the mainstream market, which is now the social media age. What you're saying is like with all the TikTok stuff that we're seeing with more people that are trending, like Rhea Ripley, a lot of her popularity happened because she went viral on TikTok, even though she didn't have a TikTok account. But Rhea Ripley has that unique look that people are drawn to, and because of that, she gets a fan base. Same thing with Liv Morgan, same thing with Jey Uso. All these people that are gaining popularity, it's because of those little viral moments, and they're tailoring it themselves to open up their audience. When before WWE, before it was bought by TKO, it was like, all right, we're just going to do it Vince's way. That's the way that he knows best. He knows XYZ because he's the only game in town. Now that TKO is there, they're more focused on branching out to different audiences. And yes, it's going to gain popularity, and the hardcore fan base is going to diminish because of that. And they're going to start finding alternatives like an AEW, like a New Japan. And the thing is, with this day and age, Triple H still has a little bit of that pulse on the independent scene, which is why we have WWE Evolve, which is with the ID independent people. You have the TNA partnership. You have the AAA acquisition, where it's like it's still enough that people are still interested by all facets in WWE, but it's also creating a new fan base. And whether that fan base is good or bad, they all have their pros and cons. One, they're tailoring themselves to a larger audience that's going to give them a lot of money. And until that money runs dry, they're going to keep doing the same thing. Like what I like about this whole New Orleans situation going to Las Vegas is now it makes The Rock's appearances completely pointless for the beginning of the year. Didn't need to happen, but again, it's one of those things where it's like it's pros and cons. They're going towards new audiences, but again, it's one of those things where it's like you're going to see crowds, and we've seen a couple of them on Raw and SmackDown, where they're going to be sitting on their hands and knees because they're not in the intricate storylines. They're there for one reason only, and that's to see Cody Rhodes, see Jey Uso, see Rhea Ripley, see Liv Morgan. And it's up to WWE to try to make these other stars that they're trying to build go viral as those stars.
I like that. Yeah, it's just so much, because it's like what you said, like these people are here for one particular person, like a Rhea Ripley, like a Cody Rhodes. God bless Rhea Ripley for taking the jokes as well as she did with all those thirst traps, because man, that was what, 2 years straight of just Rhea Ripley edits on TikTok everywhere I looked. And yeah, the popularity is great. You get it out there, but not everyone gets to eat off those moments, because people are just there for Cody. They're just there for Rhea. Some people will leave. I saw people watch Jay's match night 1, and then they left for 2 hours, and then they came back, and I'm like, oh, where did you guys go? And they're like, oh yeah, we were just walking around the stadium eating whatever. They didn't care. At least they didn't seem to in the moment from the conversations that I was having. And to spend $2,000 for one match seems like a lot.
Well, it seems like it's like a ball game experience, you know what I mean? Where it's like people, they'll watch like a couple of innings, then they'll go around, they'll go to like the suites, they'll go around, get some food, talk with fans, talk with people. And that's just how it is sometimes now. And especially when you're trying to tailor towards every different kind of audience. Before, WWE would try to do that, but it was only under one man's terms. Now it's under a whole entire company's terms, which is they're trying to branch out, like I said before. Mm-hmm. So if they're going to pay their money to watch one match, that's their prerogative. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I wouldn't do that. If I paid good money for a show, I'd watch the entire show. It's like the show I went to AEW World's End a couple years ago, and the stadium was so packed just because of what was happening. My friend, he left to go to the concessions, and the entire 8-man tag started and finished before he came back, and it's like, it's going to be a similar situation with WWE because it's a big experience, because of what they're charging, but they could afford to do it now. And until they can't afford to do it right now, the prices are going to stay the same.
Yeah. And this is going to go to Will, because Will always says that, when competition breeds, everyone gets to eat. And Richie said it beforehand that, if people feel priced out by WWE, they could afford to go to AEW, they could afford to go to TNA, New Japan, everything else. But does that risk the WWE fan taking sour grapes to those other promotions. Will, do you think that's the case or not? And what do you think about the whole WrestleMania location for Vegas next year?
Taking sour grapes because you didn't get option A, you had option B, so you had to take your backup plan, right? I think that's on a person-to-person basis. I like this argument, or this analogy rather, that AEW is not a competition to WWE. AEW is an alternative to WWE. It's the Pepsi to a Coke. You know what I mean? They're not trying to make Coke. They want to make their version of it. That's why they're the Pepsi to the Coke, or whatever you want to do with it. So in my opinion, if you don't get to go to WWE because they're pricing you out, then branch out to other options. Look at, if you want to see live wrestling, shit, you can go to a Shindy show and spend $15. You know what I mean? Like, there are pro wrestling options out there that aren't WWE. The Vegas thing is 100% that, though. It's a cash grab. And with TKO looking at their bottom line, when TKO bought the company out 2 years ago or whatever it is now, one of the first things they said was WWE had to cut like $50 million on the bottom line. They were like, we don't care where it is. You have to cut that money. And we saw tons of releases and even backstage stuff. But that's what it is. It's not about the house shows. It's not about the world titles or the championships. It's not about any of that stuff. Richie's 1,000% right. It's about the YouTube views and the Netflix links and the downloads and going viral. WWE stopped being a wrestling show 2 decades ago. WWE now is an entertainment biosphere it's like a multi-living organism that sells merch and makes movies and does weekly television and does spectacular shows like WrestleMania. It does the smaller shows like Money in the Bank. WWE is so much more than a wrestling show that you can't compare them to a wrestling show. So them going to Vegas doesn't surprise me. But I will make this argument, and I said it last night to Husky. NOLA isn't who should be the most pissed about this. Minnesota should be the most pissed. Minnesota was given a WrestleMania, then it was taken away, and then they were given the first 2-night SummerSlam in 2026, and all of that turned out to be not true because they still haven't got a WrestleMania back. The SummerSlam this year in 2025 is going to be the first 2-night SummerSlam. New Orleans got sold out. They've had 2 other WrestleManias. Minneapolis was promised a WrestleMania, had it taken away, given a SummerSlam, and still hasn't got what they were promised. Minneapolis needs to be the most pissed.
I didn't even realize that.
Oh yeah.
And then what do you think this does for building relationships in these states going forward? Because it's like what Husky said, Vegas may not pan out next year. I for goddamn sure not going back to Vegas if Mania is going to be there. I can't afford it. I can speak from personal experience. So if Vegas ends up not working the way that they wanted it to work going forward, yeah, these states are going to more likely than not take the bait because Mania is Mania. It's going to bring in revenue. But there's always that risk of we might get the signing and then they might just pull the carpet out from underneath us. They've done it before. So how do you move forward with that on a business venture side?
What they're doing is they're looking at it from this. They do these things like WWE do screen tests. You know what I mean? They'll get small groups of people in, or hell, they'll even do it during like dark matches and stuff. And they'll run vignettes or they'll test things to see how crowd reaction happens. What they're doing with their premium live events is they're doing that on a much larger scale now. WrestleMania may be planted in Vegas for a few years, but the reason why is they're looking to see how the crowds handle these other pay-per-views. They're not going to take it from Vegas, where they know they're going to make more money than God, to go to Podunk, Centerville, New Hampshire, where they will only be able to sell 30,000 tickets. Does your stadium hold enough as many people as Allegiant Field? Does your city have as many hotel rooms? Does your city have as many restaurants per capita? They're looking at it for WrestleMania like a Super Bowl now, not just a wrestling show. Will your city bring in enough revenue to make it worth it for us to move it from Vegas, where we made more money than God. And there's only a handful of cities that can now. And I'm lucky enough that I live in one of them.
I actually really like that take because I haven't thought about it like that. It's like when the Yankees have a Subway Series game at Yankee Stadium, they don't care about the surrounding area in the Bronx because they know that the travelers are going to be staying in the city. They're going to be staying in Manhattan and then traveling into the Bronx and then leaving from there because New York is built like that. Vegas isn't built like that. You have to stay near the strip just to make it worth it, just to make it make sense. So does it make sense from a money side? Absolutely. Do I want it to be just based in money? No, but at the end of the day, corporations are going to do what corporations are going to do. But the beautiful thing about wrestling is that there are always options. You can watch an AEW, you can watch an MLW, you can watch a Stardom, you can watch an NJPW, you can watch a Ring of Honor, you can watch a TNA. Because for as much as we talk about these things, we are very spoiled as wrestling fans to where if we don't like something on Monday, we have something to watch on Tuesday. If we don't like Tuesday, we can watch Wednesday into Thursday, Thursday into Friday. I think Sunday's the only day that doesn't have anything because it's the Lord's Day and God, we need to rest. Honestly, it's a lot. But with everything going on with WWE and the indies, I really think that sometimes it is just nice to sit back and realize that we are lucky enough to have the people that we have wrestling right now in all of these promotions, like a Mariah May, like a Ricochet, like a Tony Storm, like an Andrade, like a Vikingo, like everything. And if you don't want to watch one, you can always support and watch the other, no matter where they go. Just to kind of close it out, because we've almost been going over like 90 minutes for this. Wrestling is a sport until it's not. Like with WWE, wrestling is a show about a sport. Like that's what it very much is. WWE is closer to Game of Thrones than it will ever be to like an actual physical sport anymore. And that's amazing. If you're looking for that, do that. If you're looking for that, do that. If you want batshit crazy matches and lesbian style storylines, cool, watch AEW. They got you covered, they got you handled. TNA recently just did I believe it was Ariana and Santino in a father-daughter tag match, and I love that match for them, and you can only get that in TNA. The work that they're doing in Stardom is absolutely crazy. I've never really been into Joshi before. It wasn't until Mina Shirakawa and AEW made me pay attention to it. Then now I'm paying attention to Stardom. Like, if you're a wrestling fan, you can be a fan of wrestling no matter where it's from. It doesn't just have to be WWE. If you're a WWE fan, that's fine too. Just don't be a weirdo to everybody else, you know? And we're going to be here talking about these things for the rest of our lives. I think I was talking to Richie about this a few months ago, where I can only hear about the Montreal screw job but so many times. We're all going to be making the same videos about the same instances forever. So just like there's different personalities in the internet wrestling community that you can listen to and talk to and enjoy, it's the same thing with WWE. Not everyone is gonna, like have good taste in like a Will Gray or like a Husky Rhodes or like a Richie Mars. So they'll, like have lower standards and watch my stuff. That's where those benefits come in. And it's the same thing with wrestling. Like you just have to know what you like and stick with it, but then don't yuck anybody else's yum just because they like those things.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of like I'm gonna watch what I want to watch because I'm a grown person and I can make my own decisions. I don't need people to peer pressure me into liking or disliking something. It's just is what it is. And one thing I wanted to add for the WrestleMania location thing is that with WWE touring and doing all these PLEs in different places of the country, that's another deep well that we're experiencing right now, at least for the WWE side, where we're going to see shows in London, we're going to see shows in France, we're going to see shows in Europe, and it's going to expand more and more. We're going to see we're going to see shows in Japan, we're going to see Australia later this year. And that's pretty much where it's going to be for the foreseeable future. You're going to have all these major shows in different places. And when places are like going to have less and less shows happening in the United States, Money in the Bank for New Orleans becomes a destination. It becomes something that people want to go to. And that's pretty much how it is going to be.
Hopefully it just ends up benefiting not only the company but also the fans. That's really what I just hope going forward. But all we can do is just sit back and see. And in the meantime, we'll be here in this internet void talking about the same thing all the time, but it's a little bit better when you do it with friends. And I happen to have the best friends ever here with me right now, and I'm incredibly grateful. Guys, all three of you, Will, Husky, Richie, I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for being here for my very first episode of the Hi Babies podcast. Once again, I couldn't imagine having anybody else here with me. The biggest wrestling brains ever. Will, if you could start with the sign-offs, please tell everybody where they can find you and what is your name.
Absolutely. I am the Will Gray. Again, thank you, Chrissy, very much for this. I'm the host and lead writer of Botch Bots and Chair Shots. If you search my name on all your major social media platforms at the Will Gray, you check the link tree in the bio. Bam, you find all my shenanigans elsewhere for Botch Bots and Chair Shots, Rivet City Radio, World Championship Wreckage, and my writing profiles for Last Word on Sports, Pro Wrestling Stories, and Sportster.
Just before I let everyone else go, I'm going to say a little bit something about everyone individually. Will is probably one of the most badass people I've ever met in my life. Will has pushed me past walls and boundaries and limits that I didn't know that I had, and I didn't know that I was scared of. But if you need a really good supportive friend, you can do no better than a Will Gray. But you're going to have to find your own Will Gray, because this is my Will Gray, and I'm forever grateful. I'm sorry, Richie. He was the last one, and now you got to find something else.
Have to wait till they restock.
Husky, the American Cream, Husky Rhodes. Please tell the people where they can find you. After he hydrates, obviously.
You can,
super important.
Yeah, exactly. You can find me on TikTok at Husky Roads 912. You can find me on Instagram at the Husky Roads. I am one of the hosts of Queen's Court on World Championship Wreckage. I am a feature on PW60 doing Husky's Hot Takes. I make sad boy electronic music under the name Dormir. I make sad boy post-hardcore music with a band called Widow River. You can find those on the link tree in my bios. Also have a new show eventually coming to World Championship Wreckage called the Pit Chronicles, where I'm going to be talking about all things aggressive music. I had to scrap my first video idea, and I'm redoing it, so that will be coming soon.
Husky is stupidly talented. If y'all aren't already on his shit, y'all need to get better taste and fix it immediately. Like, let me tell you, I worked with Husky once and I froze because of just how incredibly talented he is. Like, in person, it's stupid. And his music is amazing. So please make sure that you check out everywhere and anywhere that you can find Husky Roads. It will be 100% worth your time. It was definitely 100% worth mine. And I love him very, very much. And now we have my day one white boy, the first white boy, my favorite. I mean, if we're going to tell the people honest things, baby, we got to tell them everything. This is how we get people to, connect with us personally and have them come back, is our friendship interaction.
I understand, but there is a thing called oversharing.
Me? Never. Tell them where they can find you, my love.
At Retold Richie Mars, I'm primarily active on TikTok, new content every day. Please go watch and follow so I could get paid and retire and make Thomas the Tank Engine content like I always wanted to. And then I'm on Instagram, same handle at Retold Richie Mars, YouTube, and you can follow me on the podcast, Wrestling Retold and Relive with Richie Mars, on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube in general. And then I'm on World Championship Wreckage, on Bound for Impact with Dad Hat Wrestling. We talk about everything that's going on in the past from TNA Wrestling. I'm also a part of Cronoso, which is a part of the North-South Wrestling Connection, where we talk about the old times in wrestling. We're going through the 90s. We just finished with SummerSlam, and we're just going in chronological order, as well as I do pay-per-view previews for certain matches on for for WWE, with the newest one being Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria for the Women's Intercontinental Championship, and just breaking down the story and where we think it's going and where the result is from there. So you to follow me in any of those plethora of options.
If it wasn't for Richie Mars, I wouldn't even be doing this. Richie Mars is the reason why I even thought I had the nerve of starting a podcast in the first place. Please make sure that you check out Wrestling Retold and Relive with Richie Mars, where he has his best episode where he and I talk about the Divas division and past, present, and future. Still my favorite episode personally for no particular reason. And yeah, my boy needs more sleeves on his sweatshirt. So please make sure that you watch this stuff so he can get paid, because he's incredibly cold all the time, and we need to fix it.
No, that's only in the heart. Like, the rest of the body's okay. We're in the summer. I don't need sleeves.
All right, babies. This has been 0 Hour. This has been episode 1 for the Hi Babies podcast. Thank you so much for sitting in with us as long as you have. And I will hopefully see y'all next time. The next episode is going to be incredibly, incredibly exciting. If y'all made it all the way to the end, you get the inside scoop. Episode 2 is going to be an interview with MLW former champion Alex Kane. We just got through talking about him earlier. He has been recently out of his contract from MLW, and amazing things are on the horizon for him. And I get to have the first scoop. Why? Because I'm the favorite, obviously. And I'm incredibly excited for it. And I'm just really happy for once the medication's finally working. You know, who knew? So on that note, y'all, to these 3 amazing men here for me, thank you guys so much for being here. I love you. To you watching, however many of y'all there are, I love you. And wrestling's for everybody, guys. So just stop being weird, please. Bye, babies.